It's coming out of the, it's actually looking pretty good. Just from the vinegar itself. Some of these don't really need even much of anything, but you can see using the old aluminum foil does work a little bit. When in doubt, I just use a little bit of oil and steel wool. That seems to be, you know, one of the old tricks that still works. But that looks pretty good. This was pretty surface rusty when I put it in there. Let's see what else is in here. If I can get it out. Oh, this one looks great. Well, maybe not entirely. It's gonna be hard to get it inside the actual Allen key slot, but not bad. A lot better than it was. That's pretty cool. Not too surprised because I definitely have used the apple cider vinegar method in the past. So I'll go through the rest of these little parts. Hopefully everything looks pretty good. I already put the bottom bracket in because it's, you know, probably the part I'm least adept at. So filming it would have been annoying. And I'm gonna tighten this bad boy up here. I wanted to actually take this whole thing apart and clean it. So it's hard to see maybe here, but it's still pretty messy, the whole crank set. But I ran into a problem that I've run into before, which is that one of these crank bolts started to strip. I believe it's that one right there. You can kind of see it. So that's annoying. And so I didn't really want to like hold up the project to do this, to drill this out and really go to town on it. So I'm just gonna install it as is. I tightened everything back up. So hopefully it's fine. But anyway, it's just part of what you do or have to experience when you're working on old bikes. So one of the things you'll find out if you work on old bikes, you probably already know this already if you're watching this video, is that inevitably you're gonna run into some problems. So I mentioned the problem earlier about this seized crank bolt. It was starting to strip. I thought, I can get away with it. I'm gonna use this whole crank set anyway. Well, I had already mounted this on and I was planning to get this pedal off because this pedal, both pedals are they're in pretty rough shape, and I much prefer a sort of wider platform pedal. So I tried to get this off and it would not budge at all. So I soaked it in penetrating oil and that didn't do any good. Well, I had to go with plan B. Thankfully, I have this crank arm laying around here, which is almost indistinguishable from the other one. It's gotta be about the same era. They're both Shimano. They're both 175 millimeter in terms of their reach. And this one, I believe this one came off of what I presume is a doomed Specialized Crossroads frame, which has a seized stem and a seized seat post. So, all right, so we can improvise a little bit. We can do this. This one's actually in better shape. It's cleaner, much, much cleaner. I'm gonna have to use little spacers here for the inner chain ring, just because it's like flatter here for some reason, but that shouldn't be a problem. Another thing that happened though, well, let's see. First of all, I was able to get the smallest ring off of the original chainring setup, and this is 24 teeth, so I want to keep that as a little climbing gear. Because of the messed up crank bolt here, I was not able to get the middle ring off. That's 36 tooth, but again, same bike as I mentioned earlier, has a 36 tooth chain ring that I can use, so I plan to use that. The only difference in the gearing is going to come from the outer ring. So this outer ring on the original is 46 teeth. And like I said, can't get that one off, at least without some serious extra work, which I may not be able to do. But I do have this lovely 48 tooth. Where's the number? There it is, 48 tooth instead. So it'll get the top end of the bike up a little bit farther. I may have to compensate for the chain length and everything, but that's just the kind of things that happen. But luckily, you know, have some stuff laying around, and hopefully this will work. We'll find out soon enough. So just wanted to do some final thoughts on this 1990 Trek 7000 rebuild here. I'll just say a few things about what's different from earlier in the video, which you may notice just by looking at it. So one of the big first things that I changed out since earlier in the video was the stem. I had a much more aggressive stem on there, so I decided to go with this dimension stem, a little more upright, just a little bit more friendly for the geometry, a little more rideable in that way. Problem was that the clamp diameter was different than the bars I had in mind for this, so I had to get new bars. These are from the co-op, just a few bucks, nice Specialized with a little bit of rise, so that worked out fine. The co-op also helped me determine that there was something going on with the headset. There was some extra play in the headset, or in the whole tube here. So the headset had been damaged somehow or warped, so they swapped that out, which was good. Also in the front end, when I took apart these shifters here, I was able to get them really cleaned out. It took me a while, but just like with Tri-Flow and a toothbrush and whatever else I could, just getting them nice and functional again. Getting rid of all that gunk that really builds up over the years. Tried to do the same with the front derailleur shifter here, but I could not do it. So that one ultimately just didn't work out. So I got a replacement for that. It's of the same period, again, from the co-op, which was nice. So it kind of fits in nicely. Had to do a little bit of modification because the original brake and shifter is integrated here. Like the brake mounts to this piece here, which goes to the shifter mounts to the brake piece here. So on this one, I just had to hack it off right there. A little hacksaw does the job just fine. And now it shifts like it should. So over here in the front end of the shifting system, I ended up going back to the original crank set here. I was able to get the stuck and kind of stripped bolt out of there. And I just cleaned up the rest of it and made it work. I was a little nervous about changing the
the gear ratio, and especially just with chain length and stuff, I just was like, keep it as stock as I possibly could. Another problem I had to deal with was the derailleur. The original derailleur had kind of that hose clamp mechanism that was was really problematic. So there's no brazons on this down tube here, the seat tube. So I could not get that tight enough at all so that under any kind of pressure in the shifting, it wouldn't just slide down. And so it just, was unusable. I thought about going one by, but again, I wanted to be as stock as possible with this rebuild. So I got this tourney from Shimano. I have one for one of my other bikes. It's the same model and it works great. It's very inexpensive, so that's nice. In the very back of the bike, one of the things we discovered is that the cogs back here are a little bit worn, especially these two. And so I found out the hard way, what can happen when that's the case. So really torquing down on it, sometimes you slip out of gear, which is not great, obviously. And not only is it annoying, but it could be dangerous, especially out on a trail somewhere or on a hill or on a descent or something, who knows. But so I'm probably gonna have to switch that out at some point. The funny thing is I actually did get a replacement, and when I took apart the whole thing, I realized that this is actually a cassette and not a freewheel. So I thought something this old would probably automatically just be a freewheel. So I gotta get another one if I'm gonna replace it. I did do some extra cleaning on it, which maybe will help, we'll see. I don't know, I haven't taken it out since I've cleaned it up. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of cleaning, I was super impressed with how nice these hubs are. They were just grimy and gross, and I managed to get them pretty clean and shiny overall, which was fun. And what else should I say? Oh, the tires here. So I really love these tires for a lot of reasons. They're really good for a lot of surfaces, but I will say if you're gonna go on more gnarly kind of off-road stuff, especially loose stuff, stones and roots and even mud, they're not gonna be really the best tires for that. So they're more like a gravel bike kind of tire. So I have them on there now, and I might switch them out depending on what kind of surface I'm gonna ride on, but I have an extra set of really knobby tires if I need to switch them up. And I think the last thing that's different about this is the saddle. So this is a charged spoon saddle. I picked this up because I wanted to try it on my fixed gear bike, and I've been using it there for, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 months. And it's okay. I mean, there's nothing fantastic about it. It's not super padded, so I think it makes more sense on a bike like this, where you got those big tires, than it does on the fixed gear. So I just swapped out the 2 saddles. The one that was on here before is one I've used for a long time, and it's just really comfortable on every bike it's ever been on. So that's why it's there. Anyway, that's the 1990 Trek 7000 mountain bike rebuild. It was fun to do. Of course, some challenges along the way. And, if you have any questions about it, just let me know. Thanks.
Passing the corners, we kissed in the rain.
behind you guys. Oh man, that was worse than it looked. Alright, where's Dave? Holy crap.